Computer, scan files. Select mask agents best suited for this mission.
Doug Stone, vocal artist, furniture manufacturer, feline rescue specialist, vehicle code name Thunderhawk, mask historical details required. Wyatt Bloom, audio engineer, Mask movie co-writer, critic, vehicle code name Phoenix, episode analysis vital. Brian Cave, author, toy designer, cartoon guru, vehicle codename Flashburn, animation knowledge required.
Personnel approved. Assemble Mobile Armored Strike Command.
Welcome, fellow agents, to MASKast Chat. Yes, it's been quite some time since we've had a chat, but I think this one is very warranted, as today marks the 40th anniversary of our favorite 80s franchise called the Mobile Armored Strike Command, M.A.S.K. I'm your host, Wyatt Bloom, and I'm joined by one of my fellow agent co-hosts, Brian Cave.
Thank you for having me.
And another voice we've heard very well for at least 75 episodes, our good friend and talented voice actor, Doug Stone. Welcome back to MASKast.
Thank you. I took my mask off for the purpose of the interview. As you know, usually I'm wearing it all the time, but in this instance, I'm removing it for the time being. But my cat is here. She will alert me if any crime takes place that I have to leave quickly.
Is this the same cat we had in 2014 when we chatted with you last?
No. I don't know which. In 2014, she wasn't born. This kitty is 6 years old.
Okay.
The kitties that I had back then have passed, unfortunately. Sadly, short lifespans, right?
Right.
So I'm not sure who was here then. Probably Mimi and Butch, I'm guessing, if it was 2014.
I remember one cat. I think it was black, but I could be wrong.
Okay. That would have been Butch.
Okay.
Butch, yeah. Butch passed away, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'd like to start at the present day, if you don't mind, Doug. What have you been up to and working on lately that you're able to share with us?
Oh, I didn't prepare for this. What I need to do is very quickly
look at your NDAs.
Exactly. Go to the IMDb and remind myself, what the heck have I been working on that I can talk about? Because until we sign non-disclosure agreements, so there are some things coming back. I've got Go Loser Ranger, which was a TV series, video game Monster Hunter Wilds, Sakamoto Days, which is a dub, Pharmagia, a video game, Uzumaki, a TV series that was dubbed, I believe, and just other stuff. I've got things in the wings coming up, redoing some existing characters for this and that. But again, we sign NDAs, and I never know, non-disclosure agreements, for those that don't know what that is. And of course, I never want to break those. And I never know when I just have to hope that I'll hear about the announcement when these things air. Then I go, oh, I'm allowed to talk about it now. And sometimes it's months after they've been released on Netflix or whatever. And I go, oh, whoops, never told anybody I was in that, but I didn't know it was airing yet. So
Right.
I'm not too savvy in that regard, I'm afraid.
Now, you're involved with the Kitty Cat Bungalow, and how did you get involved, and what is your role there?
Kitty Bungalow Charm School for Wayward Cats. Well, as you probably know, I used to not just do voices, but also direct and cast, and did some writing and producing, et cetera, et cetera. When I put a stop to all that and said, I'm just getting too tired and I'm kind of done, I've had my run with that, not with voice acting, but with that aspect, I found myself with more time. And in deciding what to do with that spare time, I had done some charitable work before. I'd done reading for children, through a SAG program, an after-school program. I'd done a little bit of animal volunteer work when I first got here in the 80s, but then my career got too busy. So I looked around for a rescue, an animal no-kill rescue, because I'm a bit arthritic. I love dogs as well as cats, but because of my arthritis, I can't walk even a middle-sized dog. If it pulls the leash, my balance is such that I might just take a tumble. It's just not what it was. So I thought, well, cats is going to be my jam. That's what I have at home. Uh, and cats are a little bit more neglected than dogs as far as rescue work goes. So through the late actor Fred Willard, wonderful comedy actor, coincidentally, I also used to do a comedy work, a stage comedy work, both in Toronto, where I come from, and LA. So I knew and still know a fair amount of people involved in that world as well as voiceover. And coincidentally, I get an email saying Fred Willard's doing a fundraiser for the Charm School for Wayward Cats, the Kitty Bungalow Charm School, doing a comedy fundraiser. And I thought, wow, because I'm trying to vet these places, see who's legit, who isn't. If Fred Willard's doing a fundraiser for them, he must have investigated them, and he's great. That's fantastic. I'm going to get in touch with these people and see what the deal is. So it was at that point just a backyard rescue in somebody's home. They essentially turned their backyard into a cat rescue in their part of their home. Their living room and one of their bathrooms and the kitchen also were housing, kittens and whatnot. So I started volunteering with them. This was in 2012, so it was a little over 13 years ago. Because I do have organizational experience, both as a young man, as a furniture maker, with a little business in my 20s with my buddy, and then in this business, the entertainment business, as director and casting and budgeting and whatever. I jumped in and started to do some administrative work for free for the rescue, primarily to do with volunteers, volunteer coordination, but also helping buy supplies and just organizing things more because it was a bit disorganized. So I got involved in that regard. And then the founder left in 2018. And that I was a little bit worried, are we going to be okay, writing ourselves without her here? So I inquired of the board if they'd like me to join and help out on the board for Kitty Bungalow, doing fundraising and running the administrative aspects. Something I didn't really want to do it initially. I just wanted the fun of volunteering with the cats, and I loved working with the young people. We get a lot of students, and it's very heartening as you age to meet so many young people with good hearts who are willing to spend their time, ride a bicycle from school to go volunteer to help animals, good-hearted young people. And it really lifts your spirits. It certainly lifts mine to be involved with them, and it gives you hope.
Right.
People keep, particularly as they get older, they diss on these young people. Oh, young people these days, young people. Well, I'm here to tell you, there's great young people these days, wonderful young people. So the joy of that is part of it too, that I keep meeting and making friends with these young people who I really enjoy the company of. Anyway, I got serving on the board and still do. We just had a 3-hour Zoom meeting the other day. Yeah, our meetings, we have at least monthly meetings, and they're long because there's a lot to discuss. There's a lot to running a rescue. There's an awful lot to running it and keeping the funds coming in and staffing. And, because we now, from that backyard, we bought a house, tore it up. I still, my arthritis wasn't as bad then. I could do a little bit of the labor of kind of ripping out the center of the house and turning it into a bunch of little rooms where we house the cats, and we have office space for our staff, etc.
Right.
So both our backyard and our interior is all dedicated to helping save feral cats from the street and getting them spayed and neutered, getting them adopted, etc., etc.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's very gratifying.
You mentioned furniture building. I don't recall you mentioning that
Oh,
back in 2014. So it's news to me that you got into I remember you talking about having your own loop group and doing that, but obviously there's probably pockets and holes we don't know about your past. But
Oh yeah.
hearing furniture maker, I that's just to me out of left field for me because I'm thinking
Ah.
voice actor, loop.
Oh well, I wasn't born a voice actor. I mean, I left school at 16 and went to work full time. So I've been a cab driver. I've worked in warehouses. I've done a lot of things, and also was a long-haired hippie. And in my long-haired hippie time, at one point, I met up with a guy who was an American living in Toronto, and we started making sand cast candles for a living. So we had a VW van, 4 dogs, and lived in a warehouse. I converted the upstairs into a bedroom, just built a wall and built a bed and threw something on it, and
Nice.
voila, at 21, that's all I needed. Um, I traveled. I did lots of other things. Uh, then at about 22 or so, I came back. I had been to India to meditate. I am
Wow.
part of my generation. I came back and met up with Mike again. And Mike at that point had transitioned to furniture making, which I knew nothing about. But he taught himself. He was super handy with stuff. Um, so I started to work for him again and eventually became a partner in the business. And we got about it was seasonal. We'd have anywhere from 1 or 2 to 4 employees, depending on how busy we were.
Mm,
And we end up moving out into the country. Both he and I were, around when I moved in with my ex and then got married just before I left that business. But we had a little business going up there making furniture, what would be called Canadiana, which is like Americana. We'd get old barn wood. We'd go to guys out in the country, say, "We see you're tearing down your barn. Can we buy your wood?" Because weathered wood makes the best furniture, as far as I'm concerned. Primarily pine, though we did work in some hardwoods. When you strip down wood that's really old and then apply a finish on it, like a polyurethane clearer finish, there's actually depth in the wood. It actually looks like you're looking down into it. It has more depth than new wood. It's just
Oh,
something that we noticed and liked. So we tried as much as we could to use older wood. And also it's gone through its changes, it's less likely to warp.
wow.
We would hold on to even new pine for a while to let it, if it was going to do any warping, let it do its warping and then cut where we could to exclude that wood, et cetera, et
Right.
cetera. So anyway, that was what I did for, gosh, how long? For about 4.5 years, from about 22 to 25 or 26.
Wow.
yeah,
And
that's
then
awesome.
26, I got married, adopted my wife's child, and cut my hair and thought I got to go straight and start earning a living because we were planning on having a family. So I got into the computer industry and I worked at IBM for 3 or 4 years and worked at another company, became the manager of computer security at one point with a little office, hated it to death, then started to make a little money on the side. I was doing theater at night, but how do you make a living in Toronto as an actor? Pretty much an impossibility in those days, in the
Right.
70s and early 80s. But then I started to get some voice work doing commercials. And that's when I quit my job and said, even if I starve, and my wife and I had separated, said, even if I starve, I've been hungry before. But now I have some kind of a venue to be doing something I'm passionate about and love. Whereas before it was just like furniture making was fun, but kind of putting in time. I can't say I had this burning passion for it. So it wasn't until I was 31 that I quit everything else. I'd been working for 15 years and a lot of other things and went into acting full time. And a few years later, got the Mask series that brought me to LA.
If I remember right, you hitchhiked across from Canada to LA. Was it
Oh,
for that job or was that for just
no, no, it was
kicks?
when I was a kid, when I was young. My buddy and I hitchhiked across Canada first from Toronto to Vancouver, which is a long way. Canada's a pretty big country. And we had done that. So I'd gotten into that mode where I felt comfortable being out on the road a little bit because, you have to learn how to manage that
Yeah.
work, that life. And then when I got older, I got the urge. I was hitchhiking across Canada again to the other side, excuse me, the other side of Canada to visit that same buddy. But I got waylaid and ended up traveling with some guy who had a van, and I buddied up with him, and I just slept. We all slept in the van, and we'd pick up young people, and they'd ride with us for a couple of days, and they'd get out. It was just hippy dippy, man. Um, you'd meet people, you'd say goodbye again. Have a good life. Uh, so we traveled through the States, and then so I was both hitchhiking and traveling with him. And then ended up living in Atlanta, Georgia for a while in an ashram, meditating, and then went to India from there. Yeah, so I hitchhiked from Atlanta to Colorado, stayed in Colorado. It's a lot of adventures,
Yeah.
those days. But some of it was spent on the road hitchhiking, yeah. And that's where I'd pick up like warehouse. If you don't have, yeah, I know, Kitty. If you don't have a regular gig in those days, you could get up at 4 or 5 in the morning and go to a place that hired for the day. And you'd line up with everybody else who didn't have a regular job, and you'd just go to wherever they sent you. So sometimes it was usually warehouse work or doing
Right.
dishes in restaurants and hotels and just whatever else, just to get enough money to be able to eat that day and whatever.
Right.
Pretty hand to mouth. But, that was my adventuresome youth
Wow.
with my hair down to here and out to here. I could show you pictures on my phone, but I don't know if
Come right up. Yeah.
I don't know if they'd come up or not. Well, I've got a cat in my lap while we're talking. I'll see if the pictures come up. I don't know if I've ever showed you guys.
Not us over here. The last time we chatted was 2014. Well, really 2015 when we did the M.A.S.K panel there at RetroCon.
Right.
The only stories I remember really were you had hitchhiked cross country, but I don't remember in what era that was, if it was pre or when you had gotten the call. Oh, wow.
Oh my goodness.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
There is a picture I've seen of you.
Some of the furniture, that's a backgammon table. I still have one like that.
Oh, nice.
that we built.
Wow. Wonderful work.
Thank you.
Well, that's beautiful there. Yeah.
Yeah. So we did a variety of. I'll show you one more, then I'll stop. But you get onto the other things, but
Oh, wow.
coffee tables and stuff. So we made dining tables, coffee tables, end tables. We ended up in those days, water beds were popular, so we made water bed frames and et cetera, et cetera. So
Yeah, that's awesome. Now, I remember going to, I don't remember when you went out there to LA, that is, but I remember the hitchhiking part. And then the last bigger conversation that we had, and it was really a loose conversation at that, was at the forum. We were out at the table, and I was so inquisitive about LA, how living in LA always looked intimidating to me because I could only imagine in my head how expensive it had to have been to live out there then and even now.
Yeah.
Plus with the wildfires that seem, aside from the earthquakes, but the wildfires seem to be very abundant out there. So I'd be intimidated to even be out there.
I hear you. Well, I came for work. I had been to LA before. I'd been with my parents probably. And then as a young man, again, my era, a buddy of mine ran away from home to move to LA to be a rock and roller. So I was working at 16. So by 17 or 18, I could afford to fly myself to come down, and I could stay with him for free. So
Nice.
all I needed was the airline ticket. So I'd been to LA a few times, and I had no aspirations to move here for reasons like you're citing. I just thought, oh, LA, that's super expensive and super, fun to visit, but that's where M.A.S.K was. That's what they wanted me to do. So I initially only came down here to do M.A.S.K, thinking I'll go back to Canada after it's over. I'm going to make some American money, which is worth more in Canada. Great. I'll go back to Toronto and I'll invest it in my career. And, I was thinking about partnering with a buddy because I have a little bit of a skill in carpentry. We thought about buying a house and, an old house and turning it into like a rooming house. So I'd live there for free as the landlord and, get students living there, all these plans. But when I was told by the people we were doing Mask for, both the studio owner, the director, the late Stu Rosen, Marcia Goodman, who was with Deke, and all these other people, all said to me, you're good enough to stay in LA. You're talented enough where you could probably find work here. Well, the amount of work here and the pay, the value. I mean, this is where the TV shows and films and the big cartoons are made. There's nothing like that I would ever, at that time certainly, and even now, get in Toronto. So that kind of made up my mind for me to go ahead and make the move. But I'd had already, because of M.A.S.K, I'd had about 9 months living here at that point, which I'd never had before, just visiting my friend. So I had climatized a little bit. For a while, Mark Halloran and I were sharing an apartment to save on costs. I started to meet people and make friends, so I didn't feel as isolated. Although I had made a living doing improv comedy and sketch work in Toronto, I started to take classes down here just to meet people, just to have the experience of meeting people. And that worked out great. I still had friends from 1985, 86 that I met doing that. So it became less daunting. But I certainly felt the same way as you when I was outside of LA, just looking at it. Like I say, I'll come down, I'll do the cartoon series, I'll go home. There's no way I could live here.
Right.
As far as the fires go, for a little while, I did live further north where I got caught in an earthquake. Our house got caught in an earthquake. But I also realized as much as I love nature, there's too much forestry and tree. I was living near an area that was protected, which I loved because I could walk down the street and see hills and forests and trees and deer running through the park. And I love that stuff.
Right.
But I said, I think I want to be away from the potential of burning trees.
Oh, yeah.
So where I live right now, I mean, the whole city would have to be on fire for me to be affected. I'm nowhere near the fire zones. There was one fire in that last fire that came close enough because the flames jumped to
Right.
kind of a park area a few miles from us where I was getting ready to leave to go downtown to a hotel just in case. I'd packed up, but it never got close enough where that
Good.
became a necessity.
That's good.
You can't tell, but my hand's being licked, and I've got my partner here. So
I saw him try
my
to
hand-
photobomb you with his tail going back and forth in the camera.
yeah. So if you see me making strange looking motions, like it's because I'm petting Minnow.
Yeah.
He was very used to Zoom conversations and assumes everybody's talking to her.
So what was it like? I remember vaguely, but what was it like when you got the call to come in to Deke to go down to the recording studio to start? I say filming. That's not the right word. Recording the scenes, recording the lines and so forth for M.A.S.K. Was there actually like an actual what do they call it, audition?
Oh yeah, I auditioned in Canada, not here. I was up in Canada. The M.A.S.K, you have to bear in mind, is a production of a U.S. company, a French company, and a Canadian company.
Mm-hmm.
So they decided to do it. The only reason I got in, and the rest of the cast, who are all Canadian or have Canadian passports, was because it was a co-production. So they had been auditioning Canadians. They'd been advertising down here, looking for Canadian actors who are members of ACTRA, the Canadian Union, who are located in LA for a cartoon series that will record down here. And they found Brendan, they found Sharon, they found Graham. I think they found everybody down here except me. What they didn't have was Matt Tracker, and they didn't have a few of the other characters. They just hadn't been able to find someone who they felt could be the hero. So they expanded and said, okay, let's go up, reach up to Canada. Maybe somebody be willing to come down here for the duration of the series. You know, it's a long enough series, it'd be worth their while. And I was fortunate enough, I had recently signed with a big agent up in Toronto. I won't go through the whole story of how that happened, but it was very, very good. A lot of good fortune involved in that from someone's recommendation, from on-camera work that I've been doing as an on-camera actor. Um, and the agent said, oh, gosh, that's right, you do voiceover too. It was like an aside for them. Well, that's right, you're one of our actors who does voiceover too. Well, let's get you into audition for this. So I auditioned in a Toronto studio, and Marcia Goodman, who was associated with Deke, was, I don't think she was on camera, but she was on microphone there. And I think at first I did the audition, they sent it down. I probably auditioned for Hondo, Dusty, and Matt, I think initially. I think those are the three they didn't have. No, Bruce, Hondo, and Matt.
Hmm.
And they were interested. So I got the word up in Toronto, they want you for a callback. Because I did not expect to get a call to go to LA. And oh, it's great that I got this audition, but come on, you know, there's just no way. I wasn't entertaining any fantasies about it. But then I got the call back, and on the call back, Marcia, the Deke representative, was actually on speakerphone and directing me, because she also directed. She directed the initial episodes before Stu came on board to get the show established. And anyway, I think I did 2 auditions for her. And I understood why they brought me back twice, because she didn't have me in the room. It's very awkward to do auditions long distance. So she wanted to be really sure. So they were recording me and playing me to their staff, both in LA and their staff in France, I guess, saying, we think we may have the guy. And she put me through my paces, you know, do this, you know, be upset, be angry, be this, be that, you know, just tried me in a lot of different things. And I guess they were both pleased with Matt and pleased that I could do accents, and that it sounded like I could do Bruce and Hondo as well. So that's when I got the go ahead, where they said, okay, you know, to the agent, we want him. I think they paid for the flight. I can't remember. I don't know if I had enough money to. They were actually kind enough to put me up, because I did just come to LA. Right. So they had an apartment very near Deke, off Ventura Boulevard, that they used for their people from France would come and stay in this very large 2-bedroom apartment. It was huge. And they said, you can stay there for a week or two till you get your footing and, you know, rent a car, find an apartment. So that was very helpful to help me just kind of get settled here. Because again, I'd been here, but as you said, rather daunting to come down and go, oh, I'm going to be in a network cartoon series, right, which I never expected, in LA. I do have a relative here, but I haven't seen her in years. I don't know anybody else. I don't have any friends living here. My buddy who I used to live here had moved back to Canada. So yeah, it was a little to start. But I had faith in myself as an actor. So they brought us all into Deke to meet. So I got to meet the cast, which was really helpful to meet them before we recorded. And we sat around a table and chatted, and et cetera, et cetera. So that was very helpful, and on and on. And then, as I say, about 3 weeks later, I'm guessing 2 or 3 weeks later, they said, first script is ready, which I was going, thank God, because I need the money. They're getting those paychecks rolling in, because I didn't have much savings to be living on while I was here. And we started recording. And
awesome.
Obviously it went well.
4 years later, it went well.
Yeah. Oh, and before we started, I don't remember his name. There had been another cast member, and he was doing Dusty and a couple of other characters. But when they had us in at a meeting at Deke, they said, the guy from France came, the owner, I guess, and he said, there's too many people in the cast. It's going to be too much money. I need to see if anybody, you know, who we can get rid of. It was kind of scary. So we all read for all each other's characters, other than Sharon, of course. So that was scary because you're looking at other actors and you're reading their character. They're nervous and you're nervous. They're reading your character and you're going, geez, I don't want to take the job from him and I don't want him to take the job from me. Anyway, one of the guys in it, they decided was not necessary. I don't remember the man's name. And I know I got Dusty and probably Brendan or Mark or Grant. I don't know. Anyway, he, I think, had initially 2 or 3 characters and they ended up being done by the rest of us.
It's a shame for him, but I'm glad you made the cut.
Thank you. I'm glad I made the cut too. Yeah, it was a real shame for him. I saw him in Toronto years later. I happened to be up in Toronto in a bar with one of the agent's representatives, and there he was. And I just pretended I didn't want. I think he was pitching something to somebody, like something, a project or whatever, and I didn't want to embarrass him or put him on the spot or remind him of an unfortunate or sad incident. So I just pretended I didn't see him, figuring if he wants to say hello, he will. And he didn't, because I think he just thought, oh, I don't want to, we don't want to talk about this.
Yeah.
So hopefully he went on to success elsewhere.
I seem to be taking over the mic. Do you have anything, Brian?
I had a couple questions. I know you were saying that you got a couple of the mask agents, but later on in the series, I think you got a couple of the villains, Bruno and Nash. Did it feel different when you were doing the heroes versus the V.E.N.O.M agents?
Different, different performance-wise, different.
Yes.
But it didn't bother me. And I'd played both on stage and on camera. I did one TV show, or a half-hour thing. Sorry. Find my shorts. It's LA. That was me in a TV, made for TV kind of thing where I was a desperado with a gun, real badass. So who didn't mind killing people at all? In fact, I think he had short man syndrome. So he liked killing people with his gun, compensating. So anyway, it wasn't uncomfortable playing guys who were serving the dark side. And in fact, it made it fun. Because, you could, a little bit more. And it was fun. I didn't they gave me the option. Do you want to just do one character first, finish it, then do your other character, and we can edit it all together? And I thought, I don't want to make them edit it all together. And it takes the challenge and fun out of it. I like going from character to character. So I said, no, just give me a couple of beats. It's not going to be immediate. Give me a couple of beats to reset, because I physically, I want to be in different positions for each one. But I wanted to go from character to character straight through the script. And I think all the other actors did too. So we would go from beginning of script to end of script and just jump character to character. And it just made it more fun to go from Matt Tracker straight to Nash Gory, boom to Hondo, boom to somebody else. Yeah,
Was there ever a time when you started reading for one character and accidentally used the wrong character's voice or anything?
No, I don't recall. I don't recall that ever happening. No, because as soon as you see the name, you're automatically setting yourself. It's no different than working. I worked on saws and lots of things when I made furniture. You focus on what's in front of you. You just focus on what's in front of you, and you don't go outside of that. So once I'm in studio and I've got the script in front of me, that's my world. That's all I'm looking at is the script. And when other people are recording, I may glance up at them, but most of the time I'm looking at the script. I'm staying involved in that world. That's where all my focus is. So I might have tripped over a word here or there, as everybody does, and had to do a retake for that. But I never fell out of character, no. If I misremembered, maybe somebody from the cast will hear this and go, no, there was that time. But I don't recall ever doing that, ever, actually, on any voice work I've ever done where I got confused and did the wrong character.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Well, we've arrived at the 40th anniversary, and I know you were involved with the Loyal Subjects launch for the toy line. What was that like to be recognized and invited after 40 years to see these toys and characters essentially rebirthed?
I'm sorry, I'm not quite sure what you're referring to. The loyal.
Oh, there was I thought you were involved in the launch of the new toy line that came out.
No,
No.
no. I'm aware of them. I mean, people tell me about them, but they've never, to my knowledge, never engaged us.
I might
As
have had you
from
confused. There was a You were getting ready to sign on for something, I'm guessing around 2 months ago. And I
oh,
guess I superimposed it was the Loyal Subjects.
I'm talking to some people, and I've actually even been in touch with Hasbro, though I haven't heard back. I've been in touch with some people about mask toy lines, trying to see about potential partnerships.
Ah,
Since the toys are going, new launches are happening all the time. Uh,
right.
about the potential for selling autographed uh, toys,
Ah,
pre-autographed, so that the people don't have to attend a convention to get an autograph, or do so separately or whatever, be it on Streamilly or other things that I'm involved in, where they'd be able to order directly from the manufacturer an autographed, authentically autographed toy or mask or whatever. So that's
right.
just something that's being talked about. But we've never been involved from any of the manufacturers, to my surprise. Frankly, they've never gotten in touch with us to say, "Would you like to get involved with the launch?"
Wow, that's
It's
surprising
a
to be
big
honest,
missed
because
opportunity.
yeah,
Yeah. It surprises me, because obviously we don't get a piece. We're not going to say, "I want 10% of all your profits." We'd be just a hired gun, but it would augment and help their sales, I would think, and give them more focus and with the fans, who I think would be excited about a partnership with the voice actors and the manufacturers. But um, nobody got in touch with me, so I took it upon myself to do so instead, just because fans kept telling me about all these things. I know at the Comic-Con, I believe they were a company was there showing some of the new masks they're making and whatever
yeah.
else.
Mhm.
There's still a lot of people involved in creating product.
Would you have imagined that Mask would have lived past the year that it was aired?
We never, none of us did. I think I can speak for. I don't like to speak for the cast, but that's one where we chatted at the time, and went, "Wow, who knows?" But this is great. Do you think we'll get much in the way of a replay? Like in Canada, they're called royalties as opposed to residuals for ACTRA. And we went, nah, probably not. It'll run a year or two, and maybe they'll do a cycle or two of reruns, and that'll be that. It'll be gone, because a lot of cartoons don't have longevity.
Yeah.
Some are wonderfully remembered, but there's a lot that have come and gone, that don't get remembered. They don't have fan clubs.
Right.
They don't still have toys being manufactured and sold, and so no, never in our wildest dreams.
In that same vein of thought, would you have imagined that there would be such a fandom or a draw of sorts to continue this grab of mass, this like I said, this fandom that has built up over the years?
Maybe I was naive because I was new to this. In that I'd done work in Canada, but I was doing theater work. I'd done some made-for-TV films, which made-for-TV movies tend to air, get shown for a couple of months, then they're shelved off somewhere and forgotten. To my surprise, I did a couple that were kind of quasi horror films. Somebody's written a book about Canadian horror films, and I'm in the book being interviewed. So it's a strange stuff that I did. I can't believe in my little career in my world that I never thought any of it. I never imagined any of it would be particularly remembered, um, beyond the audience that I hopefully appreciated it at the time it was being done, but you kind of just envision a few years for all this. So it was a shock to me when you guys first got in touch, and I found out, oh, there's fan clubs. I had no idea there was fan clubs that existed for Mask. It was all new to me. So it was, yeah, it was very surprising and unexpected.
What
Have
was
you
it?
followed along with any of the other, I guess, resurgences of Mask, like the comic book that came out a couple years ago or anything?
People, I don't track it so much. I'm spoiled because people send me things. So I actually have some of the comic books. I have the one where a young African American kid was playing Matt Tracker. I don't know if
Hmm.
you know that comic.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, that's the one.
I have some copies of that and a few other comics here and there that people have sent me. So I get things. I get it from the scuttlebutt from the fans who are younger than me and more tuned in to what's going on. So I do get to hear about some of the new things that come up and discuss potential discussions with the GI Joe folks and et cetera, et cetera. But I just sort of sit here and go, when somebody comes to me and says we got something real, I'm happy to hear it. But other than that, it's just interesting news, but it doesn't change my day.
Yeah.
Still got to pay the rent and pet the cat.
Yeah.
Both important duties.
Yep.
You did own your own loop group for some time. It was Xena, the Princess Warrior, and Conan the Barbarian, right? Is that what you did?
Hercules.
Hercules, I'm sorry.
Hercules, the Legendary Journeys, and Xena, Warrior Princess. I was doing looping for other people, but what happened, I think I was working on, I forget, some sci-fi space TV show. I forget which one. And one of the producers on it approached me. We were just chatting, lunch breaks and whatever. And he got fascinated by the fact that at that point I was directing dubbing. And I wasn't just directing dubbing of anime, which was kind of new in the early 90s, but also doing live action. And had been doing Jackie Chan pictures. I had a client called Golden Harvest Pictures in China, and I was dubbing their Chinese pictures into English. And among them were early Jackie Chan pictures, which of
Wow.
course are all action. And so I had gathered a pretty good group of actors who could do action stuff real fast. Show it to them once, boom, 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 ooh, ooh, they got it down. So I had a good group happening. So this producer approached me and said, I've got a friend who's doing this TV show, Hercules, and they cannot find a loop group who can handle the action sequences. They're used to doing TV shows for medical shows and hospital stuff and police procedurals, and there might be a fight or two, but this thing is wall to wall, yelling, fighting, charging. Da, 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 da. I said, I got guys who can do that. And so they introduced me to the lady who was involved in the sound production of it. I did one of the shows for them, brought in my guys, and they went, that's what we're looking for. Big, beefy men who can. You got Tiny Doug doing his big voice, and all these my 200-pound friends with the barrel chests, etc. And probably ruined my voice forever, but it was worth it. So yeah, we got the Hercules series, and then they spun it off, and there was the Xena as well. So that got me a loop group, and then I also did some other films and films for TV on the side, but Hercules and Xena were my mainstays. So I always forget, but I think 240 episodes or something like that. So it was like a 5-6 year run.
Yeah.
In those shows. So it was great.
I was looking through your IMDb credits to prepare for this, and I actually saw something that surprised me on there, that you were part of the English screenplay adaptation team for the Samurai Pizza Cats.
Yeah.
Was that a show you remember?
Yeah, I do, because they asked, I'm going to flatter myself here. It was a Saban. I was doing work with Saban at that time as an independent contractor, directing for them and doing adaptations here and there, and with a comedy background. And they sent me the second episode of Samurai Pizza Cats, which I adapted. And the guy who was running it said, "Oh, do you want to write them all? That's the flavor we want." and I was very flattered, and I loved writing it. I remember it because I had so much fun. When I got the gist of what he wanted, I said, "Okay." So I just wrote what I thought was made me laugh, just silliness, ridiculous, and just comedy, wall to wall, everything a joke. And it turns out that was what they wanted. So it was probably one of the easiest scripts I've ever written for me because it was just joke after joke. It just, they wrote themselves from the visuals, as far as I was concerned. But unfortunately, I was so busy at that time. There was a time in my life when there was nights I didn't sleep because I'd be writing all night, wake up in the morning, go work as an actor, have a dinner break, direct from 7 to 10 or 11, go home and write for 4 or 5 hours, catch an hour or two sleep, and it was start again the next day. So I just,
Oh, wow.
at that time, could not do the Pizza Cats. I would have loved to have taken him up on his offer. If I'd had more time, I would have loved to kept writing those. But unfortunately, I only did the second episode. I think Ard White Chamberlain did the first, and I did the second.
Hmm.
I was proud to
Oh,
say that they, according to them, they used mine as a template to show the other writers, saying this is the flavor we want for it.
wow. Then I want to flatter you myself because I loved that show. I thought it was hilarious.
Yeah,
Totally right up my alley too. So
yeah, it
thank you
was
for that.
fun. Oh, sure, my pleasure. Yeah, it was my kind of silly. I like sophisticated comedy too, but I don't like stupid comedy. My wife's so fat that, like, oh God. But that kind of comedy that just, it's almost like Bullwinkle, ridiculous puns and jokes and whatever, and just create silliness, like, let's just
Yeah.
go. That's right up my alley. Yeah. That's the kind of stuff that makes me smile.
That's great.
So I would have loved to continue it. And bear in mind, the IMDb has, I don't know, a tenth of my credits or whatever. The IMDb only knows stuff that you're credited for, obviously. They're not
Mhm.
going to know if you didn't receive a credit. And lots of the writing that I did and directing and the looping work is uncredited. And commercials. I've done hundreds of radio and television commercials. They're not credited. So when you're a voice actor, a lot of your work is not the public isn't aware of everything you're doing simply because you're not credited for it, which is
I
fine.
was amazed how much was there, and to see how much isn't there is just, it's astounding how much work you've done.
Well, thank you. Well, it's 43 years, and I haven't had to have a side gig, so it's all been that. So to sustain, to make a living, you got to work. Pretty much every day, like when I had a 9 to 5, and fortunately I was able to do that pretty much daily. Had something I was doing. If I wasn't acting for someone, I was writing something or directing something, or I did a lot of casting that isn't on there too for other people. For the late Kevin Seymour and the people at Magnitude 8, the animation that they used to do, they did a lot of huge titles at the time, and I introduced them to a lot of the actors that they ended up using. Um, so yeah, you got to be a jack of all. I think have to be a jack of all trades in this business, unless you're Mel Blanc or something. Then have to. But for me, Mr. Blue Collar, as I consider myself a blue collar actor, you got to keep handle a lot of different things to keep the mortgage paid and food
Yeah.
on the table. And I liked what I was doing. And it was always exciting when the phone rang. I didn't advertise. The phone would ring and somebody'd say, I heard about you from so and so, and I've got this and this and this. Are you interested? And you go, oh, that could be a lot of fun. Shoot, how do I fit that into 24 hours? But yeah, okay. Let me see if I can do that. My biggest problem was learning to say no to things. I wanted to say yes to everything because it was so exciting to be offered all these creative opportunities.
You just answered my question. I wondered how you got into it. Even back then, except for the phone, you didn't have an IMDb. You didn't have something sitting on a billboard that said Doug Stone available for
Yeah.
XYZ. It's who you know, how you know them, or you caught a whisper to someone that's now calling you up to say, "Hey, I heard you write dubs. Can you write a script for us?" Or like you said, just you kind of fill in wherever you could.
Yeah, it generally was word of mouth. Uh, I mean, I had a demo. In those days, everybody needed a demo, so I had a reel-to-reel, then a CD demo, et cetera, et cetera. So I had those that I'd hand out, and I could give you that, and a printed resume that I might send out to people. But that was kind of it for as far as I wasn't taking ads in the paper or anything like that. Um, and then I guess I had a lot of nerve. I decided I would call myself Doug Stone Enterprises, DSE. I wasn't incorporated at that time or anything, but I just called myself that. I got myself a letterhead and a letter, and I did write letters to some people, but I was entrepreneurial. I'd get Variety magazine or Hollywood Reporter, different magazines, and they would show what was in production. They'd have a big thing at the back showing things in production. So I'd look at foreign films in production so I could get the names of the companies, and I'd write them overseas and say, I dubbed foreign pictures and movies. When you're ready to have that one dubbed, or if you have anything else that you need dubbed, let me know. So I tried to put myself out there, but most of the work came from recommendations. Like the Hercules and Xena came from recommendations, and whatever, word of mouth, and yeah, the phone would ring. Generally, it was people approaching me because someone had told them, "Oh yeah, Doug did that for me, and he did it on time and on budget. He doesn't drink or take drugs, and he gets everything done professionally." Man, sometimes in Hollywood, that's all you need because there's a lot of people who don't do that.
Mm.
You know, they indulge too much in other activities that don't make them reliable. Not many, but there are those that do. And so you can get past them in line, by being, I believe in longevity. You can be a short-term flash in the pan, but if you want to have a long career in anything, like making furniture, when we made furniture, we always delivered on time. Our furniture was guaranteed. If something did crack or whatever in the first year, we'd replace it or fix it. I believe that your reputation is what gives you longevity in whatever it is you choose to be in. Always be honest, always treat your client properly, do everything the best you can, et cetera, et cetera. And I think the rest will take care of itself.
Yeah.
Do you have any particular favorite memory from working on M.A.S.K?
It just flashes of memories. Bearing in mind it's 40 years ago. One of the early memories I have, and I do tell this story, again, being a little bit nervous. I'm in an LA studio. We all are. It's our first, I remember it was our first day recording. The studio was then called B&B Studio. It's now called Dubbing Brothers. And I record there, which is great. Once in a while, I'm in the same room that I was in when I was doing M.A.S.K. And what's fun is I have a few pictures and I'll show them to the engineers because a few show the board and they get all excited. That's the board they were using 40 years ago. Wow, man. But we were sitting in the waiting room and there was two couches facing each other. We're all talking very quietly. Mark and Brendan and Sharon and all of us, this and that. And there on the wall is a picture of Mel Blanc, autographed picture, big picture. And I keep looking up at it going, Mel Blanc. It's like having a picture of, I don't know if you guys follow sports, whatever, Mickey Mantle, Roger Maris, Gordie Howe, whatever you want to think,
Right.
the giant of whatever it is, that you aspire to. And here I am sitting there, and there's Mel Blanc's picture. So I went to the front desk, and I thought, oh, I bet every studio has pictures of Mel. That's probably they all do. I said, does Mel Blanc actually ever record here? And the lady goes, oh yeah, sometimes he's been in a couple of times. Yeah, he gave us a picture and went, oh. Did he record in the room that we're going into? Sometimes. Oh, I wish I hadn't asked. I wish I hadn't asked. So I went back and sat down, and I went, Mel Blanc records here. He records the room I'm about to go into. And I made myself so nervous, I had to calm myself down again and just say, you're not Mel Blanc. Nobody expects you to be Mel Blanc. You weren't hired to be Mel Blanc. They're not going to compare you. It's fine. They like you. You auditioned. Everything's fine. Calm, breathe, breathe. You're going to be fine. Because, man, oh, man. That's like, again, you're up to bat. Oh, the last batter? Yeah, it was Mickey Mantle. It was Roger Maris. It was Babe Ruth. But now it's your turn. Yeah, same crowd's watching. My Home Alone face.
Yeah.
So I do remember that. Uh, the general memory I have, fortunately, was you're meeting the cast. You haven't met any of them before. You're going to be doing 65 episodes. We found out together. You're going, oh boy, I hope nobody's hope we're all going to get along okay, at least. And thank goodness everybody was nice. So that was a super big blessing, that all of us felt like, yeah, we're all in the same boat. Nobody had a big ego. Nobody felt like, well, I'm the best one here. I'm that. Everybody was supportive and nice. And we all got along and chatted with each other. Brendan and Sharon, who were kind of the most established here, and they were a couple, had already bought a home, I think. So they were like, ooh, they're more mature than us. We're all just got here and living in rentals, whatever. And they would very kindly have us over for dinner sometimes or whatever. So we kind of bonded. And that made things much nicer for everybody too. So that's not a specific memory, but it's just a general good memory that I have of the beginnings of the series, of us all getting along okay, getting along nicely. Graham, at one point, I was still doing comedy improv down here. I started to do theater because you can't just do a show once a week and sit around looking at the TV the rest of the time. I want to be active. So we were doing a show, and Graham was kind enough to come and do our lights and sound when we couldn't get a light and sound person who was reliable. Graham, bless him, we could hardly pay him anything, but he came and did our light and sound for a couple of months, which was wonderful, and was reliable, which was great, because we were doing sketch comedy and improv shows down here in a couple of different theaters.
I remember in the last chat that you guys would on occasion go over to people's houses. I don't remember who that you mentioned, but in the greeting, this is what got a charge out of me, was that you, in the greeting, you would be able to spat out lines to one another, like, aha, I got you this time, mayhem, or whatever it was. You'd walk into someone's house, and I don't recall whose house it was, but you'd have a little couple lines, just good old days type of chat.
Oh, you mean after Mask?
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah, sometimes I guess. I think Mark Halloran did it the most, to my recollection. I don't want to put words in his mouth, but I think sometimes he would say, we've got you now, tracker, da 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 da, or whatever. If I walked in as one of his bad guys, or whatever.
Yeah.
So he was the one that would indulge in it most. Brendan, not so much, because that voice, Miles Mayhem voice, was strenuous on him. So he did not do it outside of studio when he didn't have to, because he would leave there sometimes a little hoarse from doing Miles Mayhem. When I did his brother, I can't
Maximus.
I only did it in a couple of episodes. And at first I thought, oh, Brendan will probably do it, just alter it slightly, but they wanted someone else. And we all tried, and I did it. And I went, oh my God. So I did it, but I thought, I went up to him afterward. I said, Brendan, my God, that hurts. Trying to imitate you hurts. Because that's all I did was for the voices. I thought I'll just try my best to imitate him. And naturally, because my tone is different, it'll sound a little different,
right,
no matter how hard I try. But I'll try to be MASKast. Whatever. And man, it's a throat burner. I don't envy Brendan all those shows that he had to do, especially when he had to go get them, really roar. But it's a nice thing that Graham, last I heard, is living in New York. We've lost Brendan, of course. Brendan's passed. Yes. But I'm still friends and in touch with Mark and with Sharon. Was still friends with Brendan all these years later. So obviously that speaks to the fact that I consider them nice people. Because you do shows, you do plays, and you do lots of other things where you meet the cast. You might like one or two of them and see them socially, but it may not. 40 years later, you may not be going out for coffee. It's not
Right.
all that likely, but I still do go for a coffee with Mark and Sharon.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
or lunch, whichever.
Yeah. That's something I was curious about with, especially like in the acting realm. You see people portray stuff and you hear stuff on the news where, when the cameras are on, they seem all pleasant. When they're off camera, they're at each other's throats, or this one's vengeful or whatever. But what you don't hear is too many, maybe on occasion, but you don't really hear too many stories of fellow actors going out, whether it's 5 years, 40 years later, and still hanging out together as friends from years past. And hearing you say that you're still in touch with Mark and Sharon and going out for lunch or coffee. I mean, obviously that was probably your foundation there working for Deke that established that. But are there other like friendships that are in that similar vein where you've worked on Psycho Mantis, for example, or Xena, and for some reason you're buddies with someone and still hang out or stay in
Sure.
contact?
Well, actors from different, I mean, most of my friends, because that's who I tend to meet. So I won't say, is it most? There's a lot of friends in animal rescue and elsewhere too, but a lot of my friends are in that community, the acting community, um, and some I knew in theater, uh, from theater work. There's a group here, improv group called Off the Wall. As far as I know, they are the longest running improv group in LA. Robin Williams used to be a member. Um, oh gosh, there's all kinds of. John Ritter used to be a member. A lot of people who went on to fame have been members of Off the Wall. And I first met them. So I've got a bug infestation here, and I have to reach over and kill a couple of little buggers. Uh, they tend to come out later in the day, these little flying things.
Hmm.
But anyway, I met some of those folks in the 80s doing theater, and I'm still friends with those folks. So that's 40, close to 40 years. Um, they've actually helped me and stand-up comics and other people I know from the improv world. For Kitty Bungalow, I do fundraisers, and I do two different ones. During the pandemic, I was doing comedy fundraisers. We couldn't have live shows, so I'd get my stand-up and improv friends to do little 5-minute videos, and we'd do a comedy show live from Kitty Bungalow, and I'd host it, and we'd throw up videos of people doing 5-minute stand-up routines. And most of those are friends of mine from improv comedy world. I don't do stand-up. I tried it in Toronto and hated it, but some of the improvisers branched into stand-up. And the Off the Wall troupe the whole troupe got on Zoom and did an improv session for us to raise money for Kitty Bungalow. So I have lots of folks that I know here that I'll go out for coffee with, or I'll try to support their work, their shows, and whatever that I've known since the 80s, certainly.
Nice.
And then, of course, I've had the pleasure of meeting friends in animal rescue as well, including younger people, which is wonderful for me to go for coffee with people in their 20s who are animal rescue people. They're not in my business, but they're just really nice people, young people, and a lot of them are far from home. So
Yeah.
I think it's nice for them to have an older person who's taking an interest in them. My nickname at the shelter used to be Uncle Doug. Uh, at Kitty Bungalow, I'd bring cookies in for everybody and ask all the students, how's it going? And how's this? And so it's sort of a parental figure when they're far from home. So that's nice for me too. And once in a while, it thrills my heart when one of them, years after they've left Kitty Bungalow and moved on with their lives, are not in school, and some of them will get in touch with me. Or I'll wish them a happy birthday and they'll go, Uncle Doug, how are you? I haven't seen you in so long. It's like, oh, wow. They're in their 20s, but they remember me from, 5, 6, 7 years ago, bringing the cookies in. And they know I'm a voice actor, but that's not what they're connecting with me about. They're connecting with me about animal welfare, about helping animals. So I'm lucky that I have a variety of friends from different worlds.
great.
And still some folks from Toronto some that I knew from childhood, and some that I did work with up there. My buddy Connor, who at one point in Toronto, I had an improv group when we were doing dinner theater. And this young guy, Connor, became our light and sound guy. And then I tried opening a comedy club, and he did that with me. When I got into on camera work, I was able to get him in on the crew and whatever. So I just was speaking. He's now 60 years old, has 3 or 4 kids, and married. But he just sent me a picture of his family. They're European vacation. Wow, great guy. So different friendships have lasted, thank goodness. Some for many years.
That's great.
Yeah,
That is great.
yeah. You do learn. You have to pay the rent and everything else, but you do learn that friendship and love and companionship and good people around you, whatever, is riches. It makes you richer.
Yeah.
So it's good to surround yourself with people of compassion and intelligence and humor, but of good heart. That's
Absolutely.
no different for me in my world than in your worlds. I'm sure that's who you want to surround yourself with and do.
Yeah.
I got 2 young ladies who are like daughters, one of whom may actually get adopted this year. We'll see. I'm kind of busy, but we're talking about me potentially adopting her, so we'll see what happens.
Wow.
She's in her
Wow.
40s. I shouldn't say her age. She's a mature woman, not a child. But I'm her father figure, and have been for quite a while. And so there's these 2 young ladies in my life who are kind of like daughters. So that's been real nice for me too. I get to hear all about their boyfriends, all the boyfriend troubles, and everything else. But they bring their boyfriends to meet me, which is wonderful. To like, do I approve kind of thing. Because they both don't have dads to
Right.
do.
It's awesome.
Yeah, again, in many ways, rich. Build the
Really glad to hear that.
Thank you. Yeah, it's gratifying.
Yeah.
The work is wonderful, and I'm so lucky in that. I mean, I've got scars in my hands from machines that I worked on, and I've been so poor that I didn't have food to eat. When I used to smoke cigarettes, I'd get cigarette butts, get whatever tobacco was left, get 4 of them, and roll them in a new cigarette with rolling paper, so I'd have a cigarette to smoke. I didn't have any money, so. I'm very fortunate that I've been able to make a living in something that I love and build good relationships with people along the way. That's what makes you rich. You don't need a mansion. I don't need a jet plane. I don't need any of that stuff. That doesn't make you rich as far as I'm concerned.
Right. Well, it's been a blessing to call you a friend. I've chatted with you offline here some time ago, and it was just humbling. I don't think of you initially. I probably thought you as celebrity Doug Stone, going, "Oh, we're not worthy. I don't know how we even get the chat with you." Then meeting you there at that RetroCon and talking with you more and more, it changed my mind that you're not just a celebrity. You're a regular person, just like you said, trying to make a living, making friendships, and I can check on you and you can check on me. We can exchange, hey, I just saw your family wherever, and down at the charm school getting another set of kittens ready to go through another course, and we're just exchanging conversation. And it's a different mindset in my head, because at first I think, Doug, oh wow, I never would have thought I'd meet Doug Stone, and now it's just, hey Doug, how you doing? How's things going? And
You do learn, and listen, I was the same when you're not in the business, and even in Toronto when I was in the business, I'd look at LA and Hollywood like that's a different world. And when I first got here and I met some of the people that I knew from TV, I'd seen them on TV shows. Hamilton Camp, I owned one of his folk albums, and he became an actor, and now he's in an audition with me. That's Hamilton Camp. Certainly I had that mindset, but then you get to know people and you realize they're people.
Yeah.
they're making a living in this business, and so sometimes when you're dealing with the public, you have to put on a kind of persona because the public wants that and expects that, and you can't let everybody in to your world and your life. You got to be careful, but they're just people. Do you know the actress Catherine Hahn?
Yeah.
Catherine Hahn's daughter volunteers at Kitty Bungalow sometimes in the summer. When we were doing our comedy show, we reached out to her and she said, "Oh, I'll come and help you." She showed up. I met her, gave me a hug, and while I was doing the broadcast with the videos, she was broadcasting live from the kit. She'd sit with the kittens with a microphone and interview the kittens, and just make up stuff and just the sweetest person you'd ever want to meet. Just a lovely, lovely person with a delightful daughter whom she loves, and her husband showed up and watched the video, our stuff, and he actually was complimentary to one of the videos that my buddy and I had made. He's a TV producer. You learn that a lot of the people who don't let success go to their head, and there are those a-holes that you don't want to spend a minute with, but a lot of these people are just nice. They're just people who got in this business, and their families are important to them. Their dogs and their cats are important to them. Helping other people, seeing other people succeed. They're just, just happen to have talent in this industry, but they're nice people. And you try to avoid the other ones. Don't get as many in voiceover because I think they don't get as spoiled. Success is a character test, I think. Same as being wealthy is a character test. What do you do if I suddenly got lucky and got on a TV show? I did audition for some. What if I got in a regular gig on a TV show and what would have happened to me? What kind of person would I be? It's a character test to remain. Like I've met John Lithgow, nicest man in the universe, humble and sweet and kind to everybody. Harrison Ford. I've met Sir Anthony Hopkins. I've met a lot of these people now because sometimes you're in studios, you're at Sony and other places where you're actually there. Hey, there's Mel Brooks waiting in line behind me at Sony Studios for lunch, and he's joking with everybody and talking to everybody he can meet, and just being the nicest guy in the world. And he'll talk to anyone because he just likes to have an audience and play.
Yeah.
So you meet some of these people, and you go, "These people are delightful and humble," and they're not sitting there going, "Look at me, look at me." But the more insecure ones, they let it go to their head, and they forget that there's luck involved too, skill. And hard work, whatever, but there is a certain amount of luck. There's a lot of good actors out there. So I don't try not to forget that there's some luck involved and hard work is required or whatever. You got to retain your humanity and your humility. So looking at it from the outside, I know people see it differently, but it's very familial. I know everybody's kids, these actors' children, and I've met them and concerned with them and knew them growing up, and I'd have pool parties when I had a pool, and they'd bring their kids over, and we'd have baseball games, the voiceover community, and picnics. You get to meet everybody's children. So in the voiceover community, at least when I was coming up, we tried to make it very familial, very much about everybody sticking together and being friends and keeping our feet on the ground,
Yeah.
And there's no reason not to. Again, you have to put a different face on when you're at a convention or whatever. People are expecting a certain persona from you. You're there because they're in love with whatever you've done, be it M.A.S.K or whatever, and you're representing that. You're representing their wonderful memory and their wonderful memory of that show. So that's what you are giving them. If somebody comes up to me at a table and says, I watched, like I think you guys did, and said, I watched M.A.S.K when I was 6 years old, and oh my goodness, da, 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 da. You have to honor that. So you're not talking about your kids and your puppy, and you're going, oh, wonderful, that's great. Well, thank you so much. Who's your favorite character? Great. Oh, good. Well, thank you for coming by. And you want to enhance their experience. You're there. That's why you're there, as far as I'm concerned, so that they go home going, wow, I had a great time. Oh, and I met some of the actors. They were really nice. And they signed this for me, and they asked me about the show. Wow, it was great. That's what you want them to leave with. That's your job. You're there for them. It's at that time. So they're only getting a part of of you and your life and your whatever, but that's what they're there for. They're not there to hear about, oh, my arthritis is killing me, or you know, I had a crappy meal. Yeah, my car, man, I don't know what's going on. I had the motor replaced, and they don't want. They're not there for that. They're there for an experience. So your job is to provide that for them, or help provide that for them.
Right.
So the fans don't get to always meet you in your entirety, but they're meeting the you that you feel you need to present to them.
Right.
It's an acting job to some extent. I want to be real, and I'm me at the tables. I am me, and I joke with everybody, and I have Kitty Bungalow stuff there, and I'll talk about their cats, and I like to see their kids with them and play with them. I'm still me, but my job, I have a job while I'm there at the convention. I have a job. I'm being paid to be there, or they're paying to get an autograph. My job is to make sure that they get the best experience possible from all of that, for their kindness in coming out and affording me a living and asking, paying for me to sign stuff. You want to make sure they have a really good time.
Yeah.
Are you still making a lot of convention appearances?
No, because of COVID, now I'll get into personal stuff. I have a really bad autoimmune system. I get things easily. I've been hospitalized once this year. It's almost an annual thing. This year it was RSV, that virus, which developed into pneumonia, which I caught, I think, sitting in a restaurant unmasked. So I mask the moment I leave the door. I get all my COVID shots, but I don't fly anymore. I don't fly to other places anymore. I don't want to be in airports, especially with my autoimmune system at my age. It's just not worth the risk. So that's the long answer. I only do local conventions. So I did the SoCal Gaming Convention a few months ago. I'm doing a week from tomorrow, I think it is the 23rd, I'll be doing a convention for Metal Gear Solid that I can drive to. It's in Ontario, California. So it's something I can drive to.
And that's for Psycho Mantis, right?
Sorry?
That's for your character Psycho Mantis,
That's
right?
for Psycho Mantis, yeah, exactly, who also has had longevity. In his case, like 25, 30 years longevity, whatever it was, 98 or 99. So yeah, I'll be there. I'll have my other pictures with me. There'll be mask stuff there if anybody wants. Once in a while, somebody will look and go, "Oh my goodness, you were so and so in this." Yeah, I want one of those pictures too. But primarily, it's for Psycho Mantis.
Yeah.
So I'll be
that's
signing
great.
photos for that, and also I discovered, although Psycho Mantis, the toys are rather expensive. What they do have, which are a lot of fun, are Psycho Mantis ducks. This duck thing, tubes, they're called Tubbaz. And I guess they do them for a lot of different characters. And for all, oddly enough, they do this guy.
Psycho Mantis, yeah.
So I bought a bunch of them, and I took them with me to the last convention. I bought like a dozen and thought, I'll take them in case they were gone in half an hour.
Wow.
Just people gobbled them up. So I bought a ton of them that I'll take to this convention next week. And hopefully the fans will get a kick out of them. So I can autograph the top.
Yeah.
And it's for, collectible for, everybody likes the collectibles. And if they can find something they don't have, it's exciting if you're a collector. And a lot of people apparently aren't aware of these who are Psycho Mantis fans. So they got a big thrill of them. So I've got boxes of them I'll be taking with me next week. And as well as 8x10s, pictures.
Now I really want to see a Matt Tracker duck. So
Yeah, no Matt Tracker ducks. What's that, man? Some walkie-talkies, and games, and some little figurines, but I don't have a lot of mask paraphernalia, but I do have some items.
Yeah.
I was going to ask if you had collected any of the merchandise or anything. Were those things that you got yourself, or were you given as part of the production?
Oh no, they didn't give us anything other than a Illusion is the ultimate weapon button, which
Oh.
they were kind enough to give me. One that, you move it and it changes. That was a big deal at the
You
time.
wore that at the RetroCon in 2015.
There you go. Exactly.
Oh,
I still
that's
got
awesome.
it. I've still got it. It's on one of my mask shirts in the cupboard, I think. I don't think it's here, but yeah. But no, most of them, I didn't have any. And I think I mentioned that to somebody, and it might have been in Philadelphia, and it might have even been you. Somebody said, "Oh my God, that's no good. You can't not have any." And they ran out and got me a couple of the little figurines.
That was me. That was me.
You?
Yep.
I thought, I probably should have a few more of these. So since that time, I have picked up a couple more. So I've got about 5 of the figurines, and then I did buy a mask game at one of the conventions, and then I don't remember who sent me, and I hope it wasn't you, who sent me the mask transistor radio intercom.
That was not me. Was that Bill Ferris, maybe?
Could have been. What is this
Ah.
underneath it?
Bill Ferris runs mattracker.com, and he's one of our quote unquote agents that we call him.
Yeah.
So we know him very well. In fact, he was on the same panel with you there, Doug, there at RetroCon in 2015.
Yes, I recall. Yeah. I don't think it was him, but somebody sent me it. I also have a full-size mask that someone sent me, but the purpose of that, I have that elsewhere. I can't really break it out. And it comes with a controller. And what I did for the guy was recorded a few lines that he could put into his controller. So he can wear the mask at a convention and press the button, and my voice comes out.
Oh,
He
that's
was
awesome.
kind enough to donate one of the masks and controllers for Kitty Bungalow for one of our upcoming auctions. That'll be one of the auction items. And
Nice.
sure, and I did the voice stuff for him so that he can have some fun when he's doing his cosplay.
That is so cool.
So yeah, there's different interactions that do take place with some of the fans.
That same RetroCon, you met Mayhem. There's a character that has a cosplay guy that had the
He was
Venom helmet.
boy, he looked great. He really had that costume down.
He did.
Yeah.
And he was sweating. I still remember because he took his outfit off and he's just forever wiping himself because it has to be, I don't know what material it was made out of, but it was cooking him on the inside.
He had to be, yeah. I'm not, my generation and everything, I'm not a cosplay person. So for me to be at the con and see all the cosplay, I mean, I knew about cosplay and I'd seen pictures and friends had told me, but to be in the midst of it for the first time was quite an experience.
Yeah.
To see everybody walking around, and now I'm used to it. I'm a little bit more jaded, but I still get impressed sometimes. Certain, I go, oh yeah, I've seen that costume, I've seen that. Whoa! Once in a while, you'll see one and go, wow, did they put in work? That's amazing. You have to admire it.
Yeah.
The amount of dedication that some of the people put into that. Again, it's not my generation, and it's not, something I would ever think of doing. I mean, I never dressed up as anybody except at Halloween, except as a little kid, I dressed up as a cowboy because that was my generation. We watched cowboy shows. But anyway, yeah, I do remember him specifically because he was a big guy. And
yes.
He was really impressive in that costume. Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, I wish I could see pictures of that. That'd be awesome.
We have pictures somewhere. I'll have to dig them up.
Yeah.
Oh, awesome. Thank you.
I took a few too, but I don't know where they are now. The photos that I took, they're probably on my Facebook page somewhere.
You still use some of that 2015 pictures. I don't see them as often, but I do see them. I think one of them is your Facebook, the messenger, but it's a zoomed in. It's right on your head, but I recognize the background. And that's the only way I recognize. It's a red curtain in the background. And I'm like, oh, that was in 2015.
That picture, for some reason, which I think was just taken on an iPhone or whatever, I just really liked the way it came out.
Yeah.
We all take pictures of ourselves. But I really liked the way that one came out. I thought, oh, that looks really friendly. And I just like what's coming off that picture. So I end up using it all the time, that close-up.
Right.
whenever I'm asked by a company, can we get an 8x10 of you, a picture of you for promoting the new anime or whatever it is, if they want that, that's the picture I send. So it's become
Nice.
sort of my standard because my hair was gray. That I mean, I've aged, but I don't look that different than I did then. I don't think. Maybe I'm flattering myself. So I feel like I can still use that without people going, "Oh, he wants to look younger." It's just that I like the photo.
Yeah.
Is that the main one that's on your IMDb page?
Probably, yeah, I think it is on the IMDb page.
Yeah.
It's a good picture. Yeah.
If it has a
I
red
want,
curtain, that's it.
It's what you,
yeah.
yeah, that's the picture with the button on.
Yeah. Yeah.
The
I don't blame you for
background.
using it. That's a great picture.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a nice picture of me. It seems
It's
friendly and
it's better than the picture. I went looking for you shortly after RetroCon on LinkedIn, and there was a picture of you, and it looked like an early, uh, probably in your 30s when you were part of the Loop group, and you just looked like you did not want to be taken picture of. You looked so upset, just this,
yeah,
just real mean, almost firm look, and I'm like, that's not Doug. That's not the Doug I met.
that
Or
was a
maybe they
late.
just. It's
That was
been some years ago. You were actually shaven, if that helps.
yeah. There was years that I was shaven, but I can't think of what picture that was. That I was with a group. Huh.
But it was just funny because I went looking, and you're all happy and you're taking pictures with us, you're all gleeful and
Yeah.
all that. And then I come across this picture, and I'm like, wow, someone upset him that day. He did not want his picture taken for whatever reason it was.
Wow. No idea. No idea what photo that is.
I'll
I'm
have
trying
to find it.
Loop group picture, or it could have been a picture of me with uh, people with doing improv, sketch comedy, or whatever. But I would have been smiling for those.
Yeah,
Don't know.
I'll have to find it later and see if you recognize
Find
it.
it and destroy it. Your mission. Did you choose to accept it?
There you go.
Remember, destroy Venom's picture of me.
Yeah.
Obviously been manipulated, or Venom gave me some drug during that
Could be.
picture that made me frown and unhappy.
Or you're just too upset at Scott and T Bob always getting interfering with you.
They probably set the kitchen on fire again or something. Microwave. Don't put that in the microwave. Oh God.
I gotta ask, those PSAs, I realized they were like the requirement, but were some of them like just for you when you're having to record it, that they were just, oh man, why do we have to even do this type of stuff? Or was it just, no, 30 more seconds of this and I'm done?
Or the latter, I guess. They called me in and said that we now have to do these PSAs. And it was just the political climate of the time.
Yeah.
I knew it wasn't something that they were like, oh wow, do we ever want to do this? They said, it's something that the federal government or whatever, somebody had mandated that they do them. So
Yeah.
great, stay after. I think we would do them after recording a show, and the cast would leave, and I'd stick around for another 20 minutes or so and do whatever ones they had. Scott never put a fork in the
Toaster. Yeah.
in the outlet. You'll electrocute yourself and cause people in neighboring apartment buildings to lose their.
That was something just before Jason passed. We were tinkering, very minor tweak. And that was something we wanted to add to the script, which has never seen the light of day except from us. Was we just did a comedy spoof on the PSAs, but more about, are you serious? Is this what we had to do back in the 80s? We had to do this kind of stuff? Well, at least they're paying us. Some kind of script off the wall thing like that. More of a, like the gag reels that you see nowadays on movies or TV shows.
Yeah, well, it certainly was ripe for satire. Those PSAs, and
Yeah, especially when you had the villain giving those.
did he do some too? Did Mayhem do some?
Yeah, that's this racing series, this last 10 episodes. It's
Oh,
all Miles, which you rarely see much of him, but you see him and Dagger or someone, Rax, and they're, Rax, what are you doing? Don't you know you're not supposed to do this, this, and this?
wow.
Yeah.
I guess I missed those. Brendan, I don't remember. Maybe Brendan mentioned it. I don't remember.
Yeah.
Those were funny. Bruno getting hit in the face with a rake.
Yeah, well, that sounds like a Bruno type of thing. Yes, those guys. They just couldn't pull off a successful heist. I don't know how they kept themselves funded. They kept failing all the time. I think Miles must have inherited. I think he was a rich kid who inherited and spoiled. That was his problem.
Well, he always run off on the first, they'd have a couple little attacks, but when it got too hairy, he would always fly out of there.
Yeah, I'll get you next time, M.A.S.K. You'll pay for that. I gotta go
Pretty
see
good.
a man about a dog. Well, my henchman will take care of it. I'm not a coward. I just have to stomach's upset. That's all. Yeah. Yeah. It's standard bad guy stuff. Leave the henchman, get the hell out of town.
Yeah, there you go.
Don't get your own hair must fighting. Yeah. Miles, to think we were once friends. Sad, really.
I really appreciate you coming on here, Doug, and having a chat with us, especially with 40 years later, that M.A.S.K still has some kind of fandom to it.
Yeah, it's incredible. I'm again grateful that it does. You do your work, and you're always hoping that people are going to be entertained. Of course, whatever it is you're doing, you're hoping that they're going to like what you've done, both the people you're working for and the audience. So it's very gratifying when things that you've done have that kind of a life, that kind of a longevity to them. It's like, wow, I guess we did something right. We must have nailed that one. All right. So it's very gratifying to still be able to have people still interested in talking about it.
Yeah.
This time later. I hope we can do it again in 40 years. I don't know.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Book me now, but I'm not going to make promises, guys. Yeah.
Non-refundable deposit, right?
Yeah. Yeah. In that case, 40 years from now, yeah, I'd be setting records, longevity records. It wouldn't be just M.A.S.K setting longevity records. It'd be me. But hopefully we all have good, long, happy, healthy lives. And
Agreed.
talk again in 5-10 years. The 50th anniversary would be rather a significant one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I really wanted to thank you just for your part in my childhood. I mean, M.A.S.K and a lot of the other cartoons were a huge part of my entire life. I've never stopped watching cartoons, and they've become such a big part of my life, and I have you to thank among a lot of others. But I mean, I really appreciate what role you played in that.
Thank you.
Oh.
I can only say with Matt, when I saw what Matt in particular, is a single dad raising a child. I had married a single woman who was raising a child. So I kind of knew a little bit about that vibe and how hard that is and how much love you have to invest in that. So with Matt, I just did my best to make him the most decent and good dad, not only hero to fighting crime, but as a dad to Scott. And I think what happened, and I didn't even think about it at the time, is that rubbed off on the kids watching, particularly the young boys watching. I guess they kind of picked up from Matt some of that vibe of this is a caring person. And I guess the kids also related to being Scott. Wouldn't it be fun to be Scott and have T-Bob the robot as my pal and Matt as my dad and da 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 da. So I think that may be part of how Matt played a role in a lot of young guys' childhoods as kind of a surrogate father figure, as well as a heroic cartoon character. And that makes me happy. That makes me happy. That if I was able to touch people in that way and make them feel less alone or make them feel cared for or whatever, that pleases me to no end.
Right.
That I was able to play that part in young lives.
Yeah, we definitely appreciate it.
Absolutely. Well, thank you once again for coming on with us here at MASKast. Thank you for taking the time to chat with us, Doug. It's been an honor and a privilege to chat with you. regale your stories of 40 plus years in the business, and well, anything. You've done quite a bit of things throughout your life, and again, just thank you once again for accepting the invitation and helping us celebrate the 40th anniversary.
Mhm.
Thank you for taking the time and the interest.
Yeah,
Absolutely. And thank you for letting me be a part of this too, Wyatt.
anytime. Yeah, thanks for coming along, and thank you to the listener who enjoys Mask and keeps Mask going. And we'll catch you next time on MASKast. And that